Welcome to a new video. I wanted to bring you up to speed with the garments that I have finished for my summer plan. If you haven't seen that video, I shared the whole plan that I have to sew 13 garments, maybe a little bit more now. The link is going to be somewhere around here on the screen. Like I mentioned before, I'm not going to share the whole sewing process for all of these garments because I just cannot handle it. But I do have some clips where I share some modifications that I've done to the pattern, some problems that I'm having, proud moments, and everything in between. But before I show you that, I want to share what I have here on this table. So last night I cut fabric to make the poppy shirt. And initially, if you remember, or if you have seen that video, or if you haven't, initially, this was my plan. I was gonna use this fabric, which it was a comforter. Most of the fabrics that I'm using are thrifted fabrics, and this was a comforter. I love how this fabric feels to the touch. So this was the original plan. I cut pieces to make it with this fabric. But as you're gonna see later, I love this fabric. I love working with it. I love how it makes me feel. I love that the brightness and the color brings joy to my life. And I had enough to make the poppy shirt or top with it. So I was like, yeah, I'm making that as well. And since the pattern was already out and everything was set up to cut this pattern, which I don't know about you, but one of the most tedious, longest things about sewing is actually cutting the patterns. So I figured if I have all of this set up already for the poppy top, I might as well just cut this other fabric. So I did. So I'm adding this to the plan. So this makes it the 14th garment. Now, what I wanted to show you, and I would love to hear what you would do, even though when I shared this video, I would have made that decision already. Please forgive my grammar with that. I don't know if I said that correctly, but I think that you get it. I don't know, like time really works different in my brain, and now I have to express that in that way. Basically, when you see this video, the shirt is gonna be done. Okay, so this is what's going on. The poppy top is meant to be finished at the neckline and the armholes with bias tape. And I cut that, I followed the instructions, I cut that for this fabric. However, this morning when I saw it, I was like, I think that this could have a little bit more life to it. And so I thought, well, maybe I can just use another bias tape to add a little something to it. And I have this fabric, and I have a ton of this fabric. I don't know if you can see. Sorry about the lighting. It's kind of like overcast here, so I had to close the blinds and just put these lights on me. I have a ton of this fabric because for the first sewing class that I took, which was basics of sewing, which basically meant learning how to use the machine and like just basic things, I had to buy a bolt of fabric, and this is what I got. I don't love it, but that is what they required. And so I have a ton of this. So I thought, well, let's see how that looks. And it actually looks quite nice. I like the contrast. Let me just show you that. I like the contrast, right? If we can kind of like visualize that, if we can imagine this neckline and the armhole with this fabric, I like it. It's actually a nice combination. Gosh. And so even though I love the contrast, because I do, I really like it, there's something about it that I think maybe it will not go so well with the things that I have in my closet. I don't know. Basically, I'm not 100% convinced. Something to keep in mind is that the poppy top calls for the neckline and the armholes to be finished that way. But the bottom is meant to be finished with like a regular hem. So in my mind, this will look better if I do go with a contrast bias tape. It will look better if that end, of this piece would also have bias tape. So I have enough to basically add bias tape to the whole neighborhood's closet. So that's not a problem with this fabric. Now, looking through my scraps, I found this fabric, which I got from cutting the length of some pants that I had bought, and they were like way too long. Now, this is not bias tape, but it is a fabric that has a little stretch. And so I'm not quite sure why we cut bias tape in that direction. I assume because it adds a little bit of stretch and that helps with sewing, you know, curves and things like that. Please share your knowledge with me. And so I'm thinking that because this fabric has a little stretch to it, it would actually work for bias tape for this. I'm not sure. Am I right? Am I wrong? I love the way that this looks. It would go really well with the things that I own. However, I only have these 2 strips to work with. And so that means that I wouldn't be able to add to the bottom of this shirt, or I wouldn't be able to finish the shirt with that bias tape at the bottom. Is that gonna look really odd? I don't know. So I'm really torn. Should I go with the green one that something in me is not fully convinced? Or should I go with this one that I love, whoop, but I wouldn't have enough to finish the bottom? What would you do? What would you do? Now, if I iron this, wait, do I have enough to get more? Lord, would this be enough? Should I risk it? Should I try to make it out of this whole thing? Would that work? I think I may actually have enough for all of it. Do I? I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, so that is what is going on. I think I may tackle this tomorrow and I will show you the final result of these pieces. Insert the crying emoji because I have sad news. I really wanted to finish them today and everything was going well until I got to this point. I was ready to put the waistband and I was like, these are looking too big. And they are. So this is heartbreaking, but I'm gonna have to start over. So sad. So sad. I have updates for you. So, first of all, I wanted to show you this skirt that I made. I mean, I didn't actually make it. I made it happen. Let me see if you are seeing this. This used to be a dress. So I thrifted this dress and I thought it was really cute. It had a comfortable fabric. I thought the dress itself was cute, but when I saw it, I knew that I would potentially or most likely end up doing something else with it other than wearing the actual dress. This used to be the top. I have said this a million times, I think, in most of my videos. I live in Florida and my aim or my goal is to just really have comfortable clothes that are fresh and airy. And there's something about the vibe of a more formal dress that just gives me hot vibes. That is just in my mind. I know it. So I didn't feel that with the bottom of the dress. So I was like, I actually do like how this skirt of the dress kind of like looks. And skirts are really not my go-to at all. So I was like, let me just try it. I mean, I'm not gonna wear this dress at this point. Also, I think the dress was like $6. So it was a good investment to kind of like play with. I ripped this seam exactly where the skirt and the top of the dress met. And the dress itself had this look where if you see here, there is like no gathers, but in the back, you can see some gathers. That is how the dress was, and I really liked how that looked. And so I bought, I think this is a 1/4 inch elastic, and I sewed the elastic to the side seams of the skirt. The front part didn't have any stretch, so I basically sewed it with ease, I guess. And then the back, I did stretch the elastic as I was sewing it on the back. And that's how I achieved the look that the dress originally had. And I'm actually quite happy with it. Also, this was big enough or wide enough to fit my hips. Had this been like an inch smaller, it wouldn't have worked. It would have been too tight. So I'm pretty happy with it and I'm just gonna wear it today and see how I feel. It's pretty comfortable. I have to figure out more outfits that I can kind of like create with it. I don't know if I'm loving this neckline with the style of the skirt. I was thinking that maybe something that shows a little bit more skin here would balance a little bit more like the coverage overall of the outfit. Okay, that took actually too long, but this I have here, and I'll just show you. This is from the class that I'm taking. I mentioned before, confident pattern making. And I do actually love what I did here with the buttons. The buttonholes, I did it with pink. And I also, the thread that I use for the buttons are also pink. And I really like that little detail. So that's something that I guess I'm going to be carrying through some other pieces that I do, because I do really like that. So this is how my shorts are looking. I have not modified this pattern yet. Whoop! However, I did make the shorts in this fabric, which was the original plan. I was still gonna make them, but because I found this dress at the end of my planning for this project, I was really excited to make those shorts, or this shorts in this fabric, so my excitement took me there. However, I made some changes to the pattern that I was not really comfortable making it directly on this fabric, because this is all I have and I really like it and I want to make it work. But I did have more of this bed sheets, and so I figured this is safe for me to try the changes that I made. Okay, so this is how the shorts look. They're really cute. They're also wrinkled because I wore them yesterday after I was done with them. I just put them on and I wore them the whole day. And they're really comfortable. So I'm really, really happy with the changes. I'm really happy with how they turned out. They have pockets. I have to say, I don't love the style of these pockets, but I understand why they are like they are. Yeah, I think I like pockets that kind of go down more than towards the middle of my body. And this is so interesting, right? Because I was never so detailed or focused on this type of details on garments before. But I guess because I spend so much time making them, after they're done, I'm like looking and inspecting and studying every single detail, which is cool. It's interesting. Okay, so the changes that I made. So I had originally made a size small on the Willa shorts, and I went down basically 2 sizes. This line was one of the planes in which you could just shift that size. So I made that smaller, 2 sizes smaller. So I think it ended up being 1 extra small, I think they call it. I don't know if I wrote that down. I don't think so. And an additional thing that I did was that I tapered in the side by like 1 inch, I want to say. And so I did that on both the front and the back. And I did that because if I hadn't done that and I had kept this straight, I don't have a lot to fill in the back. Plus my lower back goes in a little bit more. And so I always end up with like a lot of extra fabric here. And so I was trying to reduce that. And it worked great. Oh, one thing that I do have to say, they are very comfortable. However, the ruffles here, I'm gonna try and see if there's any way that I can make this less bulky. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Basically, here, it rubs a little bit too much with my legs. And so that is one change that I think I can make for the other pair. Let me show you one last thing, just because I'm so excited. I am making this paper raffia crochet purse. I think I'm gonna use them like this. No, wait, this way. So it is going to be a purse. Hold on, I put this up too much. So it's gonna be a little purse. And I got this little sphere bowl situation, and I'm thinking I can do like 1 or 2 on the straps for the purse. I don't know, I'm excited about playing with it. Seems very cute. I love the color, love the color. Okay, that's it. I have a lot of mess here. I'm gonna get going. I just put this other shirt on. What do we think, this blouse? Do we like it better with this type of blouse? We are back. I have caught the pieces to my new size, and I am redoing everything. I've already sewn the ruffle. I have been wearing the pink shorts because they're really comfortable. I also finished the baby doll blouse. I can't remember if that's the exact name. I have not been 100% hands-on with everything that I wanted to do because there were multiple things happening. Maybe perhaps not as much progress as I would have liked, but it's okay. I still feel pretty accomplished. I still feel like having this goal or this organized kind of like vision of what I want to do has really helped me stay focused and motivated. I really like the fact that I organized and planned these projects in the way that I did. Here is the final result for the baby doll blouse. I am in love with this piece. I didn't think I was going to love it so much. I think that the reason why I chose it was because it looked very breezy, airy, nothing touches your skin really. And I am so happy to report that that is exactly how it feels. I feel like I'm wearing nothing, which is one of the reasons why I love it so much. I also love how this color and this fabric makes the piece just fun. And something that I've really been loving about sewing is that I have been doing things that I wouldn't have picked at a store. Like, I don't think this is something that I would have been interested in, like even trying it on, but I have it on and I feel so good in it. There's a part of me that thinks that my style is a lot more like simple and minimal and kind of boxy. And I do love that sometimes, but I've noticed that there are certain pieces where I do feel like very much like myself. Like, I don't know, like there's like a self-confidence that comes with what I'm wearing. Of course, we know that. But these pieces that I'm talking about specifically, I've been noticing, and they seem to be like this kind of like cute, romantic style, like very Cezanne kind of style, which I've always known that I like. But I don't think that I knew how much it really felt like myself. That can change, that can shift with seasons and whatnot. But I think that right now I'm really resonating with that style. And so I love how it turned out. It is so comfortable. Yeah. I'm really happy with it, and I'm probably gonna make more. It was really easy to make. Overall, I really love this piece. I have finally finished them. My machine was like, I don't wanna keep doing this. I don't wanna keep doing this. And so I had a bunch of issues, but thankfully we are past it. They fit tighter than the pink shorts, which I'm glad, because that was my hope, that they looked a little bit more fitted instead of like wider. That is what I didn't want them to look like. So I'm glad they do fit nice. So here are my shorts. I think they are pretty cute. I am sad about something. I think at some point during this whole process, I mentioned that the inner thigh was kind of like uncomfortable. Like the inner side of the shorts makes my inner thigh feel a little like uncomfortable. And because I had to wiggle so much with this shorts and back and forth and changing things and I made mistakes, I didn't remember that I wanted to change that. And now that I'm wearing them, I'm like, ugh, I feel that. It's not horrible, I don't think. But I think if I was like walking, like if I took this to New York, I'm thinking about that because we're going in June. Am I gonna feel comfortable walking on this or with this the whole time? I'm not sure. And because the fabric is stiffer than the pink ones, I feel it more. So is this something that I'm gonna have to fix at some point? I don't know. Also, you may have noticed that I'm wearing a shirt that I didn't make this. I've had this shirt forever, but I did change the buttons the other day and I think it came out so cute. I had ordered this random buttons, like a bag of random buttons on Etsy, and this size was perfect for it. Let's see. Let me just put this down a little. The size of the buttons was perfect for it. And I think it added like cuteness, personality to the shirt, which I think it's really cute. Also, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I've had this picture here and I've been painting it forever. And I don't have all of my paints out all the time, which means that I only work on it like just very sporadically. And so, yeah, she's kind of like a work in progress like I am. And it's just taking a while. In case you were like, what the heck is happening there? And like you see all of this tape and the craft paper. Yeah, this is so that I don't paint the white wall behind it because the easel that I have is not big enough to hold the size of this canvas. We made it to my favorite piece so far. So this is the finished poppy top and I love it so much. I am so happy with the result of this top. Also, I've been wearing it today. We went outside and it is so comfortable. I love this fabric. I love how it feels. I love the pattern because it's just like, it is what you need for summer. Like, I can't even feel the fabric on me. So I'm definitely making more of this, which I have already. As you saw, I made it in the pink fabric as well. I have it right here. I'll show you that because there's not much to it. So this one is done. I wore it yesterday. Same thing, same experience, really comfortable. Love it. A couple things to mention about this specific top. So as you can see, I ended up going with this option. I actually like the fact that the bottom doesn't have the bias tape because I think the bias tape is such a highlight, I guess, of the top that it brings the attention here. And I think if it had that finish here at the bottom as well, it would kind of be like a little too much. I don't know, it may have looked cute, but this makes me happy. Something to note is that the bias tape finish for the original pattern is meant to go inside. And so basically you end up folding the main fabric once inwards, 1/4 of an inch, meaning the pattern should actually be like shorter here. Basically, I added 1/4 of an inch to the width of the arms and the neckline. I don't know if that's making any sense because again, this was supposed to be folded inwards once, but basically because I did the exposed bias tape, I'm not folding it inwards, that 1/4 of an inch. Don't know if that's it making any sense. I didn't want to go to the extent of like cutting the pattern and whatnot. I didn't want to mess with it. And so I just went with it. I am fine with it. I do have to say, I don't know if it's because this is technically not bias tape. Not that it's technically, it is not bias tape. And it does flare out a little bit. It could be because, again, this was meant to be inwards. And so there's a little bit of extra fabric that the pattern itself originally when it was created was not accounting for. Or it could be because this is not bias tape. What do you think? Either way, I don't mind it. I like it. Does it wrinkle a little bit? Does it flare out a little bit? Yes. Do I love it? Yes. So I'm just gonna go with that last part. This is what I'm wearing it with this color pants that I absolutely love. I've actually been looking for this type of fabric everywhere. And when I say that, I mean in the thrift store, because if you have noticed, everything that I have been using is from the thrift store. I'm basically just making clothes and thrifting. I realized that the other day, not because I planned it that way, but I don't think I have bought a new garment in over a year. All I can say is that it's way cheaper to thrift and way more fun. I used to not like shopping at all. Never. I would never shop. And now I am having fun with the things I'm making, with the things that I'm finding, with what I'm wearing. It's a new season in my life and I am loving it. I almost forgot why I was showing you my pants because I realized in the last video where I planned all of these sewing projects that I said multiple times that I did not want to make pants because I didn't want to wear pants during the summer. Yet here I am wearing pants. And also, most importantly, I did choose the Protea pants to make. And all I can tell you is that maybe I was so excited because I love those pants so much that in my head, I didn't even register that at the same time that I was saying a million times that I didn't want to wear pants, I was planning to make pants. That goes to show you how our biases work. When we have an idea in mind, when we have a concept, preconceived notions, a narrative about something, our brain will block the rest of the world in order for that narrative to be true. Just something to keep in mind. So I'm making pants and I'm really excited because wearing this is like being in a cloud. And so I can only imagine how nice it's going to be wearing those pants. So I'm really excited to make them. Don't know when it's gonna happen. Okay, I think that is it for this video. Thank you so much for following this creative journey. And I will see you in the next video with hopefully a lot more beautiful pieces to wear.